think you need to log into the system and see the PDF. Yeah. So the invoice like. Go ahead.
So I just need to log in on my desktop and I can approve everything from my desk.
That's right. Yeah.
So looking at the PDF, I don't have to go to. I mean, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's cloud-based, so you can log in. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The invoice is saved as an attachment to the actual invoice image. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And the third is improve visibility throughout the cycle. So the invoice imported from invoice image will be in the invoice work area, which is the workflow-based work area, and we will take a look when we go into the application. And then finally, strength and compliance and control. So basically, you can create your business rules. So when you validate the invoices, you will all the business rules that you set up will be applied to the invoice.
Okay.
Now, this diagram shows how the automated invoice processing works. So first, your supplier sends the invoice to an email address, and then our solution within Oracle Cloud capture the invoice through the background process automatically. So those are the steps that is run in the background. For example, process the email, capture the invoice data, and store the invoice image and the invoice data. And then the invoice will be created automatically in Paintable. So if the invoice is correct, and then it's ready for payment. Now for some of the exceptions, if the exception will be routed to as a incomplete invoice. So some of the reasons for the exception may be some missing data or low, maybe poor invoice image quality. So it will be as a incomplete invoice status. And those invoices will be routed to a specific user for completion based on the user-defined rule. So, any questions on here? Okay. Then let's go into the application. Okay.
And is this recording? Are you getting the audio on this also?
I started with the audio maybe like a minute ago, so there might be like 30 seconds of that audio, because I remember that was on my headset. So here is the invoice work area. Days, and I can see my most recent entered invoices, or if any invoices on hold or prepayment. If you highlight any of the tiles, what you see below will be reflect it will be reflect your selection. Okay, on the right hand side, you can also see this task menu. So basically, this is user security-based, role-based. So for this particular user, you can create an invoice from spreadsheet or recurring invoice, which we saw on the last demo. You can import invoice from third party. Okay, so let's take a look at the invoice image. I'm going to sort it by my creation date. So those are the my name initial. I created this invoice like yesterday. Here. All right. So let's select this invoice image.
So when you said you created this invoice yesterday, you create a PDF and email it into the cloud?
Yeah. So the accepted format is not only PDF, it accepts many other formats like TIFF, PNG, docs, PDF. Yeah.
Okay.
There are a list of formats. Yeah, that's acceptable. So notice that there's an attachment here. So that's the original copy of the invoice. And the scanned image is loading on the right hand side. So if you have a dual monitor, it will be it will be easier to transfer the information there. So let's see. Yeah, okay. So now notice that a lot of the invoice header information is already filled out for you. So I have my supplier name, my invoice number, invoice number, my total, my invoice date, and the invoice actually is matched to the line item level. So it matches down to the line item level.
Okay.
So you can see we capture the description. And then now if this invoice is also a fixed asset, you can also mark it as fixed asset. And there will be
that last sentence cut out. I didn't know what you said.
Oh, I think if the invoice is also a fixed asset, let's say you bought some fixed asset, you can also mark this as a fixed asset. All the fixed asset module and the payable module, they are integrated.
Okay.
So there's no more like a duplicate entry. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So based on this vendor, so for ABC Consulting in this case, I believe it's a 1099 vendor. So also set up like all the income tax rules, so it's pulled directly from the vendor profile. So if there's any withholding tax, it will show here. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and validate this invoice. So the validation process will apply the business rules. So wait a second. So now you can see on the right hand side, okay, it's validated. There's no hold there, and then the current status of this invoice right here. It's validated, and for this particular invoice and this user are logging as controller, he doesn't need anybody's approval. So if for any reason, like this is a regular just a payable clerk, and this like say anything maybe more than 1,000, it might be you might set up a rule so that it routes to a manager for approval. But in this case, no approval needed, right? So now I can go ahead and post this to Ledger. So usually you do this on a batch process, but in this case, I'll show you as an example one invoice at a time. So you post it to Ledger, and you will see, okay, in a few seconds, the accounting will say, okay, it's accounted, right? Now, it was accounted before, and now it's accounted. And then you can review the accounting here. So those are the accounting for this invoice. And if you like under some situation, you might need to override account, you can do so. So you can just highlight any invoice line item level and override the account.
So the 820, that was the invoice pre-tax, and then
right.
Where's the other portion?
The other portion will be, let's see, this is the tax liability. This is how this is coded from the system. Okay, so if I highlight this one, it will tell me what it is. So this is accounts payable balance sheet for this particular account. Okay, so the 8930 is the withholding. So for this particular vendor, they actually need to withhold a tax from them. So basically, we're paying to IRS. That's how it's set up in the system. Yeah.
Okay. Because that's the accounting thing. But when I pay an invoice, we don't usually cut that out. It's usually just paid.
Yeah.
I guess when we're on our construction stuff. So did the invoice say? Why would you? I see the functionality. I just the way that's accounted for is not usual for me.
So in this case, there's a regular sales and use tax is sales and use tax, and that's the withholding tax. That's how this particular vendor set up. Like most of the vendors, you don't need to actually withholding any taxes.
Man, that's just a configuration. Yeah, just a configuration of update the invoice to have it either have sale, either you have tax withhold or you don't, on what agreement you have with your vendor. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Kind of a side note.
Okay. Yeah, so now it's accounted, and then we can pay this invoice, one invoice at a time, pay it full. Select my bank account, and then process file. Let's see, I can do check.
Can you set it up with ACH, or is for the demonstrations, check the only option?
No, you can set up different options here. So let's see if it's set up. It's basically it's a vendor setup. So.
Oh yeah, right. I remember seeing that. When you set the vendor up, you have the default.
Right. You have a default, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. So in this case, it looks like it's all most of them are all checked. Yeah. So if there's ACH listed as a payment method, you can select the ACH.
So after we see the check go through, I would like to see how the ACH would work, and if that's not an option today, maybe you can talk through that with me, kind of like as we look at the windows, and how does the entry I make in Oracle get communicated to my bank for the ACH? So the ACH, I can walk you through that. So while she shows it, so the ACH, once you set it up on the vendor, and then the vendor would show up here for your process file, you have ACH, and then that becomes, once you submit it, the job runs, and you'll get a successful, job completed, and that back end happens. On the back end, that happens with a file automatically being transmitted to the bank. The bank receives that file, and you'll get a confirmation of this file transmitted in your work list. So whenever I go to a browser and log into Oracle, I put my username in and my password. So that I'm in Oracle. Normally, my bank requires a username and password plus a unique number that changes every minute on my keychain. Okay. Do I bypass that security when you're going to give us? The bank's going to give us an SFTP site, which is Secure File Transfer Protocol. They give you a special site. You use their username, password, in an SFTP site. They'll give it to us as part of the integration. And then we will then pass that and drop that file into a shared site. They then pick up that file and import it into their system to show here's all the ACH payments that need to be transmitted and delivered for that bank account, for that vendor. That they'll then process that information, and you can log into your bank after that's done, and you can see that the ACH has been paid as part of that procedure. So yeah, you don't go through the normal logging in through website and load it. They're going to give you a back end way so you can go in, secure handshake, drop off the file, and the file then uploads and goes through. So that's why one of the questions I emailed you was, do you use a lot of the same banks for all these entities, or do you have separate banks for each entity? Now, if you have separate bank accounts, it's okay, but if you have separate banks for each one of these entities, then that's more work, right? I got to create a file for each one of those banks. Now, if the banks are similar, or they share 5 or 6 of them share the same bank, then that's the same file for each bank, and it's less work, right? Because each time I got to create these files, I got to call the bank, I got to tell them I want to do this. They then open up a port for you, they give you the information, tell you what your username, password is going to be, you load it in, load that file, they accept it, they validate.